Has he gone?
No, he's just left.
Good, because I wanted to get stuck into him. You remember he started off with all those wonderful words?
Yes.
And I reckon he must have swallowed a dictionary, because he just took the wind right out of my sails. Out of David's sails, Hillary's sails, and the whole lot.
No.
You just wanted to blow.
Throw them off.
Ralph, can I borrow your trumpet? Anyway, all right. I just took a few notes, and I'm really pleased that I was able to come down and meet all you. Some of them I met before.
Who are you?
Never mind. What are you?
Some people
Anyway.
mightn't know who you are. John Smith.
Oh yes.
He just
Sorry,
showed up at
you're
the
right.
funeral for the food.
You're right.
Nobody knows
I stand up.
even called it.
Be careful. Anyway, I wrote a few notes, and a few days ago, when the phone rang and dear Hillary phoned me up and told me the terrible news, and she said that before anything that we wanted to find a word to describe Shirley, right? And you all know how wonderful Shirley was with words. So I mean, I wrote these just notes that have gone out the window really now. So anyway, Shirley was a words woman, as you well know, and she had a wonderful whimsical sense of humour. Slight alliteration there, she would have approved of that. And there was always a chuckle. There was always humour in her voice, and there was always a chuckle just below the surface with our shell girl, is what I called her. It was my personal word for her, shell girl. Anyway, many times, because you probably know that I used to look after her up in Auckland while Hillary was busy working and the kids were at school or uni or whatever, and I'd come over to the house and we'd spend many hours sitting around the table solving the world's problems, you know, and it didn't matter if it was George Bush or somebody who was going to set off a rocket somewhere. Shirley never took it on board, really, you know. She just, with a whimsical word, she just flagged it away as if it was of no importance, which of course it wasn't. And she knew that I was inclined to be a bit humorous, so that tickled her funny bone. Anyway, many times. But sitting over those many cups of teas, always in that all-seeing right eye of Shirley's, with the head cocked over to one side, you all know that, don't you? With the way she used to, you thought, now, is she listening to me or is she ready to fall asleep? But anyway, but in her right eye there was always determination, never despair. You know, I'm starting to use words as Hill's encouraged me, you know, and never despair. And you all know about the crosswords. She attacked crosswords with a relish. And in fact, many years ago, in one of your earlier houses up in Pottsomie, I think it was, when she came up, I spotted her once with a pen in one hand and a coin in the other, waiting for the paper boy.
Yeah.
I love it.
Fair dinkum. And a coin, because she was kind.
Lovely.
Anyway, and there were a multitude of words to describe Shirley, and Shirley would approve the word multitude. She liked words like that. Anyway, what I did before Barry took all the wind out of my sails, I said she was orderly, which she was. Orderly. You know that bag of hers? She knew exactly what slot was her bank book, what slot was her ticket to the air ticket down, and what slot had rubbish in it, and anyway, she was so orderly, and I used to play games with her on the way out to the airport, taking her back to you lot. She was always dying to come back down to her friends in Dunedin, and I want you all to know that, and you, Jerry, you know, she just loved you all, mate. And I once said to her, Shirley, on the way out to the airport, I said, Shirley, have you ever considered coming up to Auckland and living with Hillary and the girl? Well, I got that sort of a reaction.
Visiting was enough.
Yeah.
Visiting was enough.
Yeah. But all my friends are down there, she said, so I want you all to know that personally I'm not making this up. All right. Orderly, unruffled. Yeah, I've never seen her ruffled. Tranquil,
My mother has.
amiable.
The back of the scooter.
She was tolerant. She was tolerant, Liz.
No, she didn't have a chance.
And I've got here in my notes, remember the gunman, but that's already been discussed. There's a lovely story. I always loved that one. She fancy being held up by a gunman called
Dean
Martin and giving him a bowl of soup.
That's because she thought hungry man's an angry man.
Yes.
That's why she did
Fair
it.
enough.
Very practical.
That's why.
She was kind and charming.
And she's trying to protect Johnny too. So
Yes.
keep everything safe.
She was kind and she was charming. And why I mention that word charming, a few of you know about the Fish Pot Cafe in Mission Bay. Shirley and I used to go
That's
over...
fish pot, he was trying to say.
Fish Pot Cafe.
You see fish pot pate.
Yeah. Keep your mind above your navel, darling. Anyway, if you ever go into the Fish Pot Cafe, right, you realise how that Shirley loved it. And I was there once with her, and this is the effect that she had on people, right? She hadn't been in there for a whole year, right? And it was, she'd pay one time and I'd pay the other. And by the way, guess who paid the last one? Hello, mate. But anyway,
That's why she chose this time.
the girl, the waitress who was a solo mum. See, Shirley found out that this woman was a solo mum with 3 kids. Now, I could have gone in there 10 times and never found that out. And after a year away from the fish pot, we went in, flashing our Winston cards, you know, getting our pensioners fish and chips together. And this waitress came up and she said, "Oh, hello, Shirley. How's things in Dunedin?"
Oh.
A year later. So that's the effect that she had on them, as you all know.
And you could go there every week and not be remembered.
Exactly.
Hard to believe as it is.
John Smith. Yeah. Engelbert Humperdinck, probably. Anyway, she was always remembered. And I put here uncomplaining. I've never heard a complaint like that classic line of yours where there's a good bone. What was it? There's a bit of good in everybody.
Right.
And Jerry and Jean. Is Jean here or is she gone? Jean looked at a photograph of Hillary. You can pass it on, Liz, anyway.
Jean must be here somewhere.
She's here somewhere.
Yeah, very quiet for her. We were looking at photographs the other day and I added this word because Jean looked at a photograph and she said, oh, an old one of Shirley, and she said, my God, she looks mischievous there. And that was another word that you could describe.
Mischievous.
Yeah. And Jerry, when we were talking last night, and he said to me more than one word, he said, she was a very nice neighbour. And that was in a nutshell from Jerry.
But the mischievousness was inside herself, laughing at life.
Impish.
But not harmful or malicious.
Yeah.
That's true.
So finally, the last word I'm going to use, or I was going to use at the service with Shirley, was she was so fiercely independent.
Oh, yes.
Unbelievably independent, and I'll leave it on that word, and that was Shirley.
Yeah,
and I loved her.
She never wanted to finish in a home. She
Yeah.
wanted to stay here.
Yeah. And I'm glad that I've come here to meet you all in the one lot, you know, because she thought you were all very special. She thought a very lot of you.